Oh, well, hey everybody, it's Dick here. I'm out on the Enfield. It's about the second time I've been out on the Enfield this season. I connected a Swallow sidecar I picked up for Father's Day to it and ended up crashing it. I took it out a couple more times and realized that sidecar riding, at least that setup, isn't for me. And so here I am, out on the solo Enfield again. I went for about a 7-hour ride with some friends who came up to visit last weekend or the weekend before. And I was on the Enfield the entire time, and I just had a hoot. I did not get tired. There was very little dual carriageway or highway riding, and it was all roads like this. And it was just a sweet dream of a motorcycle ride. The friend that I was riding with, I actually met through the YouTube channel. And he'd made some comments and started up some conversations, and then asked if I wanted to meet the Ace one day to look at his Africa Twin. And then he had traded his Africa Twin for a GS. But he had also picked up an Interceptor and then subsequently a Classic 500. And he's gotten bitten by the dual sport bug the way I have. He's actually ridden dirt bikes in the past. I haven't. But he got bit again, I guess, by the dual sport or off-roading bug, and he just ordered a CRF 300, and his lovely wife, who also rides CB500X, the lovely CB500X, she said, you know, one's got to go if you're going to get another one in. And I'm at that point with Fanny where one's got to go if I get another one in, so I can commiserate. Ooh, a little construction going over there. Big timber beam construction. I gotta explore that. Anyway, when it came to him selling a bike to make room for the 300, the Interceptor went, not the Classic 500. And I found that a very interesting, I mean, that would be the decision I would make if I had to choose between the two. And I actually did have to choose between the two when I decided not to sell this one and get the Interceptor. But I was very interested that an unbiased third party, faced with the same decision, if I have to choose between the Classic 500 and the Interceptor 650, which one do I choose? And the Classic 500 came out the winner. Now I have had that inkling, that passing inkling to lighten the fleet a little bit and replace some bikes or get a different bike and do some trading on the team. And when you're sitting in bed in the middle of the night looking at new motorcycles on your phone, you kind of think, oh yeah, I've had the Classic a while, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. Maybe that'll be the one that goes. But then you get on it and you're like, why would you sell this motorcycle? What you get? Well, in the condition of this one, I get $2,000 for it, maybe $3,000 for a good example. Not saying this isn't a good example. I'm sorry, baby. A pristine example, I should say. She's taking some knocks. She's taking some knocks. Anyway, $2 grand, $3 grand. First of all, that's only a contribution to a new bike. And second of all, you're not going to find a bike that does this. 40 miles an hour, completely happy, zipping along these roads. I just got quiet because I realized I did not lube the chain before I left. Oops, too low. I look at that engine braking. I mean, I was in the wrong gear, but it gives you an example of the amazing engine braking on this. I know people who commute on these. I know people who go long distances on these. But if you're just a enthusiastic Sunday weekend rider or the occasional day ride, and you have some interesting roads, this is the only motorcycle you need. It's the only motorcycle you need. It's so awesome. It's so simple. It's so inexpensive. It's got a kickstart. Oh God, that caught up with me. It's got a kickstart, because inevitably my battery is low from the rotation that I have on my bikes. And if I don't think about throwing it on the charge the night before, I kickstart it, and by the time I get to wherever I'm meeting someone to ride, or by the time I get to my first stop, the electric starts working again. The nice thing about an inexpensive bike too is that if it gets a little knocked around, if it gets a scratch or a dent or a bump here, gets a little surface rust somewhere, you're not crying all the way home. You're not sitting in the drive polishing it up. You're just getting on. You're just wiping away the cobwebs and riding away. I have a whole bunch of videos out about why I love my Royal Enfield, but I think I will explore. I think I'll explore that topic again as I ride out to meet my new friend. So riding a Royal Enfield is kind of interesting because you're sitting up on the bike. You're sitting, the handlebars kind of fall away from you. You're very relaxed in the arms. You're sitting square on your rump, and your legs come out at 90-degree angles to the pegs. And so it's almost like you can imagine a gentlemanly motorcyclist from the 30s or the 40s, or a man in a top hat in Paris riding an upright bicycle, like an old-timey bicycle. Just kind of think of Kermit the Frog in the Muppet movie riding his bicycle. Just do, 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 do. So there's something very sophisticated about the geometry of this bike. This is why you always go slow on these roads. Ooh, and they're cutting. Oh no, they're not cutting, they're just sneaking by. You will always come around a curve and have two tractors trying to squeeze by each other. That is why you always take care on blind curves in Wales. And there are so many motorcyclists and drivers who fail to heed that advice. Beyond the geometry, the sophistication disappears. I mean, it's a very pretty motorcycle. It's a very handsome motorcycle. There's these sculptural things happening up here with the tiger eyes and the heart-shaped cast for the dials. It's got a little hood over the headlamp and the little tiger eye lights. It's got a nice shape, But the ride is very raw. The ride is very thumpy. It's a single cylinder, 500 cc's or 498 or whatever it is. And you can hear it with this exhaust I have on it. And all of the baffling and all the steel wool packing that was in there has blown out in the years I've had this. But you can, it's that noise, that tuck, 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 that single cylinder thump. Very industrial, very mechanical, a little pop back, little backfire. And that thump goes right up into the frame. And this is a very funny bike because it's got dual shocks on the wheels, you know, mounted to the axles on the outside and up to the frame on the outside. So they're dual shocks on the outside of the frame. But then the seat also has two big springs to kind of suspend the rider. Because despite the fact that this is a full suspension motorcycle, telescoping front forks and dual shocks at the back, the vibrations go right into the rider. And you can feel those vibrations in the foot pegs, you can feel those vibrations in the handlebars, specifically the throttle hand. It goes right out to the mirrors, so the mirrors become useless. Anything over 2,000 RPM. And the nature of a single cylinder is that the torque is all at the low end and immediate. It pulls. If you look at the torque specs on this, it's not anything to sneeze at, but it's also not anything to celebrate. But this bike feels torquier than some of those modern machines that have really high torque numbers. I like torque. I actually prefer torque over any other performance specification. I like there to be torque across the rev range, where this peters out when you get to the top of the rev range. But if you have enough gears, if you don't want to go fast enough, all you need to do is shift up or down appropriately. Ugh. That's right. Hit your brakes on the stone and tar. Another reason not to come around the turns very quickly is this is Welsh resurfacing. But these bikes were all the rage until the Himalayans came out in India, and these would be the bike of choice. I'm speaking broadly, of course. There are anti-Royal Enfield riders in India. However, these are generally the national bike of India, and this, I think, from what I've seen on my investigations on YouTube, dreaming of riding in India, this would be a good road in India. Well, while I'm stopped here, I can show you the geometry. Feet flat on the ground, nice and comfortable, a little bend in my knee. You can actually see the glistening of the oil coming through the gravel there. I have the touring seat on, which gives me a little bit of height. And still I'm able to go flat-footed on both feet if I need to maneuver a duct walk. So it's a very low motorcycle, very horizontal motorcycle for the geometry. You're not leaning down or reaching up. It's very, very level motorcycle. Back to tarmac. Sweet tarmac. The mountains, there they are. Anywho, Look at that view. My goodness. That's worthwhile. The thing about riding the Royal Enfield is that even if you have somewhere to be, you don't have anywhere to be. There's nowhere to be when you're riding the Royal Enfield. It's just right here in the moment. It's very zen. It's a philosophical experience. It's an intellectual experience. It's also a visceral and physical experience. But that physicality transcends pure sensation. It transcends emotion. Which is why I use the term Zen or Nirvana. You hear of long-distance runners achieving some sort of meditative state, a nirvana of existential, metaphysical plane of existence. And you kind of get that when you're putting along on a Royal Enfield. Especially when you have a skyline like that.
If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.